You know, I've been thinking about something that probably sounds really weird when you first hear it. But just hear me out for a second. What if the problem isn't that you're not doing enough istighfar? What if the thing that's actually hurting you is that you're relying on istighfar without actually making any real changes? I'm not saying you should stop asking for forgiveness. That's not what I'm saying at all. In fact, I think forgiveness is one of the most beautiful things in faith. But here's the thing I've been noticing, both in my own life and watching other people struggle. There's this pattern that keeps happening over and over. You do something you know you shouldn't do. You feel really bad about it. Actually, you feel terrible. Then you ask for forgiveness. You promise yourself you're going to change this time. You really mean it too. And then a few days go by, maybe a week, and you end up doing the same thing again. And that moment when you realize you messed up again, that's rough. It's like you're stuck on this wheel that just keeps spinning. If you've been caught in that cycle before, maybe give this video a like right now. Not because of me, but because you're willing to actually listen to something that most people are too scared or too uncomfortable to talk about. I want you to know something right away. I don't think you're a bad person. I really don't. I think you're someone who actually cares, which is probably why this hurts so much. I think you hate the feeling of messing up. I think you hate that moment when you realize you did something you promised yourself you wouldn't do. You know that feeling where you think about it and you're just like, man, I can't believe I did that again. And maybe you feel like you're being fake or like you're not being real with your faith. Like there's this disconnect between who you want to be and who you're actually being. And that's painful. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that's not painful because it is. That feeling of being two different people, of knowing better, but doing it anyway. That's actually one of the heaviest feelings there is. And here's what I've noticed happens when you're in this cycle. At first, you feel bad, and that bad feeling actually makes you want to change. But then you ask for forgiveness, and you feel a little bit better for a moment. And that relief, that feeling of the weight being lifted, it tricks you into thinking that something has actually shifted. But it hasn't. The next time the same situation comes up, you're in the exact same position you were in before, because nothing about your life actually changed. The more times you mess up, the weaker you start feeling about yourself. You start believing that maybe you're just not capable of change. Maybe you're just someone who can't do this. Maybe it's just who you are, and you can't fight it. And that's when things get really heavy, because you start thinking, why even bother trying? I'm just going to end up here again anyway. What's the point? And I get why people think that because it makes sense when you're in it. But that kind of thinking is so heavy to carry around. It's exhausting. And the crazy part is, you're not alone in this. There are honestly thousands and thousands of people dealing with exactly the same thing you're dealing with right now. You might feel like you're the only one, but you're really not. I want you to think about the people in your life. That person who seems like they have it all figured out, the one who's always put together and never seems to struggle with anything. They might be dealing with their own version of this exact cycle. Your friend who looks perfect on social media, they might be struggling with something they're not telling anyone about. The person at work who seems so confident and sure, they might be going home and feeling exactly what you're feeling. We're all kind of out here trying to figure this out together, and most people are just really good at hiding it. The shame keeps us quiet about it. We feel like we're the only ones, so we don't talk about it, which means we stay isolated and we think we're the only ones, which isn't true at all. What I've learned is that this struggle, this cycle, it's not a personal failure. It's not like you're weak or broken or something is wrong with you. It's actually a really common human thing, especially when the patterns we fall into are being reinforced by things around us every single day. When you're constantly exposed to triggers and your environment isn't set up to support real change, then of course it's hard. That's not weakness. That's just being human. Drop a like on this because there's a chance you're hearing the exact thing you needed to hear, but we're too embarrassed to search for. This might be the message that something inside you has been waiting for, maybe for months or even longer, and you just didn't know how to find it or what to search for. Okay, so here's where I want to be really honest with you about something I think a lot of us get wrong, and this is really important. The problem isn't istighfar itself. Istighfar is actually incredible. It's one of the most powerful things available to us. Asking for forgiveness is beautiful. It's necessary. It's a sign that you actually care and that you want to be better. But here's what I've started to notice, and from what I can see in the people around me and in communities where people talk about this, some of us have turned asking for forgiveness into just a quick fix for feeling guilty. Like we made it into this automatic thing we do so we can feel better about ourselves without actually doing anything different. It's like you're using it as a band-aid instead of actually healing the wound. You're treating the symptom, but you're never treating the disease. It's become like a ritual that loses its power. You say the words, you mean them in the moment, you feel better, and then life goes back to normal. Nothing actually shifts. And the thing is, that's not how forgiveness is supposed to work. Real forgiveness, I think, is supposed to be transformative. It's supposed to mean something in your life. It's supposed to actually change the trajectory you're on. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine someone who keeps touching a hot stove. They burn their hand. It hurts. They realize they made a mistake. They ask for forgiveness for touching the stove. They promise with their whole heart that they're not going to touch it again. They really mean it too. They're genuinely sorry about the burn. Then the next day, they touch the stove again, and they burn their hand again, and they ask for forgiveness again, and they mean it again. Then it happens again tomorrow, and the next day, and the next day. After a month of this, is the problem that they're not asking for forgiveness enough times? No, obviously not. The problem is they keep touching the stove. If they want that to stop, they have to stop touching the stove. They have to figure out why they keep putting their hand on something that's burning them, and they have to address that. And I'm starting to think that's exactly what happens with a lot of us. We do the asking for forgiveness part really well. We're really sincere about it. We mean every word, but we don't do the actual change part. We never actually address the root of why we keep doing the thing in the first place. So we're stuck in this loop where we're going through the motions, but nothing's really changing. We're just getting better and better at feeling sorry, and then doing it all over again. We're becoming experts at apology instead of experts at change. I want you to think about your own situation for a second. Is there something you keep doing that you don't want to keep doing? Be honest with yourself. And when you ask for forgiveness, do you actually make changes after that, or do you just kind of go back to your life and hope it doesn't happen again? Do you change anything about the situation that led to happening? Or do you just ask for forgiveness and then step right back into the same environment where it's going to happen again? If this is starting to click for you, leave a like. Honestly, likes help this message reach people who are going through this quietly, and maybe they need to hear this as much as you needed to hear it. They might be the only person in their friend group who understands what you're going through, and they're struggling in silence. So let me tell you what I think the real issue is here, based on what I've seen and experienced. There are things in your life that are basically making it really hard for you to stay consistent with what you actually want to do. I call these triggers. They're not the same for everyone, but they're pretty common from what I can tell. Like, for a lot of people, it's social media. You get on your phone to do one quick thing, and next thing you know, you're watching stuff that doesn't help you, that actually pulls you in the opposite direction of where you want to go. For other people, it's the people they hang out with. You know how it is when you're around certain friends, and suddenly you're doing things you wouldn't normally do if you were by yourself. That's real. Or it might be content you're consuming, like shows or stuff online, that's just not serving you. And then there are the habits that nobody really knows about, because you hide them. Those are maybe the biggest ones, because you're not talking about them. So they just keep getting stronger. Here's the thing, though, and I think this is important. You can ask for forgiveness 1,000 times. But if you don't actually remove the things that are triggering you, you're fighting a battle with one hand tied behind your back. Every single day you leave those triggers in place, they're getting stronger. They're becoming more normal to you. It's like you're letting the problem grow while you're just hoping it'll go away on its own. That's not how this works. Let me give you an example, because I think examples help. Imagine there's someone who messes up in the same way over and over, and every time they do the asking for forgiveness thing, but they never actually change anything about their situation. They're still following the same accounts on social media that are pulling them the wrong way. They're still hanging out with the same people. They're still in the same situations where it happens. So obviously it keeps happening. But instead of thinking about what actually needs to change, they just get better at asking for forgiveness. And I'm not saying asking for forgiveness is bad. I'm saying it needs to come with actual change, or you're just going in circles. I want to ask you something, and I want you to actually sit with this question for a second. When you say you want to stop doing something you know you shouldn't do you actually want to stop? Or do you want a feeling of guilt to go away while everything else stays the same? Because those are two different things. And I think a lot of times we confuse those two things. Actually wanting to stop means you're willing to do things differently. It means you're willing to be uncomfortable. It means you're willing to remove things from your life that feel good in the moment, but don't serve you in the long run. That's actually hard. And I think sometimes we just want the guilt to disappear without having to do anything that feels uncomfortable. Think about it. If someone told you that the only way to change is you have to delete some apps, you have to stop hanging out with certain people, you have to not watch certain things anymore, you have to face some uncomfortable moments where you want to do something but you don't, would you actually want that? Or would you prefer if there was just some magic prayer that made everything better while you kept living the same way? I think a lot of us prefer the second option, but that's not how real change works. The truth that not a lot of people want to hear is that most of us want peace without actually changing anything. We want the feeling of being different without actually doing anything different. We want the results without the sacrifice. And I get it. I really do. But that's not how this works. If you keep doing what you've always done, you're going to keep getting what you've always gotten. If you appreciate hearing real talk, even when it's uncomfortable, leave a like. I promise I'm not trying to be harsh. I'm trying to help. And part of helping is being honest. So let me break down what I actually think real repentance is, because I don't think it's just one thing. I think it's actually a few things working together. First, you have to actually recognize what you did. You have to look at it and say, yeah, I did that and it wasn't right. Not making excuses, not pretending it was something it wasn't, just being real about it. Then there's a feeling part. You actually feel bad about it. And I'm not talking about feeling bad because you got caught or because you feel guilty. I'm talking about feeling bad because you hurt yourself, or you went against what you actually believe in, or you disappointed yourself. That kind of feeling. Then you ask for forgiveness. You reach out to the divine. You acknowledge that you messed up, and you're asking for help to do better. That's important. That's real. But here's the part that people sometimes skip over, and I think this is where everything changes. You actually have to make a decision to do something different going forward. It's not just a feeling. It's not just words. It's actually changing your actions. It's changing your environment. It's changing the things you're doing that led to that moment in the first place. So real repentance is all for those things. It's seeing it, feeling it, asking for forgiveness, and then actually changing. If you're missing any of those, you're missing the whole thing. And I think that's why so many of us feel like we're stuck. We're doing some of these parts, but we're skipping the most important one, which is the actual change. When you combine all of that together, that's when you actually start to move in a different direction. That's when things start to be different. Not because you asked for forgiveness enough times, but because you're actually doing something different. Okay, so if you're sitting here thinking, all right, I get it, I understand what you're saying, but what do I actually do? Let me give you some actual steps that I think can help. Step 1 is to figure out what your actual triggers are. What's the thing that usually leads to you doing something you don't want to do? Is it a specific time of day? Is it when you're alone? Is it after you see something on your phone? Is it certain people? Is it certain places? You have to know what it is. You have to be specific. Don't just say stress. Say, when I'm stressed and I'm alone in my room at night, that's when I usually, whatever it is, be specific. Because you can't fix something if you don't know what it is. Step 2 is to actually eliminate the sources of temptation. If social media is pulling you down, maybe you're not on it as much. Maybe you unfollow accounts that don't help you. Maybe you delete apps. I know that sounds extreme, but think about how much you want this. If you want it bad enough, what's worth more to you, the app or the change? Step 3 is to create barriers between you and the thing you're trying to avoid. If you know you get tempted late at night, maybe you give your phone to someone else. Maybe you go to bed earlier. Maybe you spend time with people instead of being alone. You make it harder for yourself to fall into the same pattern. Step 4 is to replace the bad habits with something good. You can't just remove something and leave an empty space. Your brain needs something to do. So if you had a habit of scrolling for 2 hours, maybe you replace that with reading or going for a walk or learning something or spending time with people who matter to you. You're rewiring yourself, basically. You're creating new patterns. And step 5 is probably the most important one. You have to build your connection with the divine. You have to make that your strong point. Because at the end of the day, the strongest motivation isn't fear. It's not even guilt. It's love. It's wanting to be close to something bigger than yourself. So every single day, spend time, read, think, pray, just connect. Because the stronger that connection is, the easier it is to say no to things that pull you away from it. These aren't quick fixes. This isn't something that happens overnight. But from what I've seen, when people actually do these things start to change. Real change. Not the kind where you're just getting better at hiding things or asking for forgiveness. Actual change in how you're living. If you're actually thinking about putting at least one of these things into action today, leave a like as a promise to yourself. Like, you're putting out there into the universe that you're going to try. That might sound silly, but I think there's something powerful about that. Now I want to talk about something that's maybe a little hard to think about, but I think it's important. If nothing changes, if you keep doing the same thing, asking for forgiveness, but not actually changing anything, where are you going to be in 5 years? In 10 years? You could still be caught in the same cycle, still doing the same thing, still feeling terrible about it, still promising yourself you're going to change, still not changing. And years will have passed, years where you could have been building something, moving forward, becoming the person you actually want to be. And instead, you're still in the same place. That's heavy to think about. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to help you actually see what's at stake here. Because time is something we all have the same amount of, and you can't get it back. Every single day that you're not addressing this is a day you could have spent building something different. And those days add up. Before you know it, it's been a year. Then it's been 2 years. And you're still in the same spot. The thing is, that future version of you, the one who's still stuck 5 years from now, they're going to be looking back right now wishing you had made a different choice. They're going to wish you had actually taken action instead of just thinking about taking action. They're going to wish you had deleted that app or had the hard conversation or made the change, whatever it is, and you have the power to make sure that doesn't happen. You have the power right now. But here's the thing I actually want you to take away from all of this, and I think this is the most important part. It doesn't matter how many times you've messed up. It doesn't matter how many times you've been in this cycle. It doesn't matter if you feel like you're too far gone or like you've tried and failed 100 times. There's something so beautiful about forgiveness, and I'm not just talking about asking for it. I'm talking about the fact that it's always there. It's always available to you. You can mess up today, and tomorrow is a new day. You can fall back into old patterns, and the next moment is a chance to choose differently. That's not an excuse to keep messing up, but it is a reason to not give up. I know people who were stuck for years and years in patterns they thought they'd never get out of, and something shifted. They actually decided to do things differently, and things changed, not overnight, but gradually, slowly but surely. Their life looked different, and now they're the people they wanted to be. So it's possible. It's actually possible. Your story isn't over. Even if you feel like it is, even if you feel like you've ruined everything, your story is not over. You still have time. You still have chances. And as long as you're alive and willing to try, things can be different. If you believe that you can still change your life and your patterns, leave a like, because I believe it too. And I think it's important that you know that. So let me just summarize what we've been talking about, because I want to make sure it's clear. The problem was never asking for forgiveness. Forgiveness is beautiful and it's necessary. The problem is doing that without actually changing anything else. It's like you're treating the symptom but not the disease. So the next time you mess up, and maybe you will, because we all do sometimes, I want you to think about this. After you ask for forgiveness, actually do something different. Change one thing. Remove one trigger. Have one hard conversation. Make one different choice. Because that's what's actually going to move you forward. This isn't about being perfect. It's about actually moving in the direction you want to go. It's about being the person you actually want to be, not just the person who apologizes a lot. You have everything you need to do this. You really do. It's just about actually doing it. Give this video a like so that other people can find this message. So people who are stuck in this cycle can see it before they waste years thinking there's no way out. Because there is a way out. And in the comments, just write one word. Write Tauba. Don't do it for me. Do it for you. Write it as a promise to yourself that starting right now, today, you're going to make one real change. Not just feeling sorry. Actual change. One thing, right now, because you can do this. And I think deep down you already know you can.